Welcome to Death of a Workaholic. I am here with Nadya Rousseau from Alter New Media. She's runs a marketing agency where purpose and profit are never mutually exclusive, and talk about how to deal with workaholism. I mean, really, we're talking about combining purpose and profits and trying to find a way where people can be both fulfilled and happy, and hopefully not kill themselves while doing it. But before we get into all the great things you've done in the world, I'd like to just start with your story, Nadia. Sounds like your relationship with work started at 14. That's a pretty young age. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear more about that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean that and first of all, thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah.
super stoked to be here and have this conversation with you. I know for so many entrepreneurs, it is the struggle is real. Like we don't always know when to shut off, or it feels just kind of like a never-ending thing, right? So in my case, yes, you're correct. My first official job was when I was 14, although 2 years prior to that, I had been volunteering. So we could say that actually was 12 because I was a volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club and at the YMCA. But then by 14, I got my first official job. So I don't, it was interesting. The first job was working for a fabric company that produced material for reenactors. I grew up in Western Maryland, and I don't know how familiar everyone is with Western Maryland, but in the area that I was in, very close to Antietam Battlefield, which is, one of the big battlefields during the Civil War. So there was a lot of reenactors there. So I was essentially cataloging fabrics for this business, and that was my first job. I was super like metal goth girl, but very studious. So I was like that straight A like goth chick in there, blasting Lincoln Park and cataloging fabrics.
I love Lincoln Park. I love Lincoln Park. It's like the soundtrack of my youth. And
Oh, totally.
speaking of workaholism and like living an integrated life, my dog is barking like crazy. So I'm going to stroll back here and grab him because when he
Oh,
comes
so
back, he
cute.
won't bark.
Oh, look at that
There
tail
you go.
go. Oh my
There you
gosh.
go.
Is that a cat? Is that a kitty back
He
there?
is a little. Well, I got kitties. I got puppies. I got a little menagerie over here. I swear that's from
So
my
cute. So cute.
my.
But yeah, I mean, my story is a long one. It's certainly not a traditional path, but what entrepreneur's path is traditional, right? I mean, long
Mhm.
story short, started working very young. I graduated high school a year early as a junior, so I skipped senior year, did all the APs to do that, and I wanted to go to NYU. I was accepted there, but due to some various issues within my family, I was kind of pushed towards a state school, which I said, heck no, I'm not doing that, don't want to be in the state anymore. I hate it. So I, sought out my own path and was in the modeling acting world for a while. I went initially to New York, didn't live there, but I had meetings there. And, I probably could have moved there, but I decided ultimately on Southern California because I was talking with someone in a romantic capacity who
Oh,
lived
there you
there
go.
that I met very young when I was in high school on the internet. And my relationship with the internet as well as with work started very young. So did the thing, did the darn thing in the acting modeling world for 6 years, was on 6, 7 years on shows like Ugly Betty, Californication, Entourage. Got tired of it though, so then I pivoted to journalism, freelance writing. I was also working part-time in a law firm. So then that made way to, kind of expanding out into social media, to people I had interviewed in the freelance writing world. They had shake companies and a nut butter company, so they were all like impact based, but like healthy businesses, both very older, I should say. At that time, to me, I'm like, these people are old and they don't know anything about technology. Let me help. Yeah, and so I helped them out with their Twitter. I didn't think it was a thing since 2012, 2013. Social media is not what back then it's not what it is today. It's so, I kind of evolved in that world and formed alternate media initially as a digital production company for a TV show called Nadya's Identity Files. I was producing and hosting in LA. And then I just kind of had a convergence, if you will, of that world, the digital production side and the marketing side, which I was looking at. And I quit my job at the law firm by the end of 2016 and became full-time entrepreneur by the very beginning, January 1st, 2017.
Oh,
And
there
haven't
you
looked back.
go. That's
Yep.
Look at that. And here we are, January 3rd.
Here we are,
5 years
January
later, if my, no, 6 years later, if my math's right.
6 years later, and now I can say, we've served over 600 companies, and I have a team of about 15 people. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And before we get into the team of now, I want to go back to the you of 14. So, what did work do for you? How did it make you feel starting that young and working through work? What did it do for you?
It definitely made me feel independent. I think upon reflection, there's part of me that feels some resentment because I was always, pushed into 1,000 extracurriculars and jobs, and I was never really able to relax. I felt like I was almost condemned for taking like an hour, hour and a half to, watch TV. It's like, you need to go to the gym or you need to do this, you need to do that. It was always like this culture in my household of like, you have to go, 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 go nonstop. But, when I was in my own, not hearing that, but I was just working the job, whatever it was, whether it was the reenactment company or Quiznos or gas or the YMCA or whatever it was, I felt empowered from the standpoint that I knew I was making my own coin and I was learning skills and,
Mhm.
it was never like, oh, I can't figure this out. It was, everything came pretty quickly to me. But, I think later on, kind of looking back, I was just like, well, would it have been so bad to just take one summer to just chill and not be like forced to be a camp counselor? So,
Mhm. Yeah, it's the voices of our past shape a lot of those identities and things that we do by default without necessarily realizing it. They
mhm.
serve us, and then we like to do more of it. So
Yes.
fast forward, what was your turning point where you realized that you weren't necessarily working more was not necessarily helping you?
Well, I think it's important to note that the relationship with work as an employee is very different than the relationship with work as a business owner
Yeah.
or even as somebody who's just self-employed. Because, when you're self-employed and when you're a business owner, that life, it's very much your lifestyle
Hmm.
versus, I'm working as a teen or kid to build character and to get experience or to keep myself busy. Like that's kind of
Right.
like that phase. And then you move into the phase of, being an employee. And in my case, while I was doing the acting stuff, I was pursuing the acting world, doing castings and auditions and stuff like that. I still always had a part-time job. So it's like, okay, at that
Mhm.
point, it moves into, necessity, survival type of thing. And any workaholism I had was not at the day job. It was more so in my pursuit towards being successful in my chosen path at that time, which was acting.
Mhm.
Then, when you move into that full-blown entrepreneur mode, which 2016 was my hardest, craziest working year because I was working full time in that law office. I was
Mhm.
producing the show. I was building my client base for the social media clients, and I was going to school part time. So I was working 70 hours a week that year
Oh,
regularly.
wow.
At
Wow.
that time, it felt very much like, I gotta go balls to the wall if I want to achieve this goal and be, leaving this company the end of the year and
Mhm.
feel like somewhat secure in doing
Mhm.
so. So I think, 2017, 2018, the earlier years of entrepreneurship, I was working a lot, pulled all-nighters. It was like I felt like if I wasn't doing something or I wasn't really putting all my energy almost all the time into work, it was like I wouldn't be successful. But, I think that's part of your early journey as an entrepreneur. And then you come to realize that it's not about working hard or working long. It's about working smart. It's about working efficiently. And it's about kind of giving away the stuff that you don't want to do and giving it to people who do want to do that and can grow in that.
So, what was the hardest part when it came to letting go? What was the most difficult thing to let go of?
Oh my, it's so many different things. I definitely have struggled with delegation. I still struggle with it here and there, not as much anymore. Like I can go, 80% of the day now without checking my email because I know my assistant has handled most of it. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want to, I'm not going to even look at that until the end of the day. Like that's what I'm paying her to do. So, but I just feel like it was a variety of things. It just came down to feeling like I had to be in control and that
Mhm.
fear of losing control if I didn't hold on to the stuff.
Yeah. You're talking about the entrepreneurial journey and the life journey so well. And you're absolutely right. There's a as when we're younger and when we're working for someone else, there is a value to kind of exploring all these different possible opportunities and seeing what we like and don't like and what we're good at and not, and gathering all of that knowledge and wisdom. But then when we start as entrepreneurs, it helps us build our company. We wouldn't be successful if we didn't put our nose to the
Exactly.
grindstone and get it off the ground. But then at some point, that very thing that helped us, the control, stands in our
Mhm.
way.
Yes, 100%. It
Mhm.
becomes a roadblock to your growth because then you can't focus on the higher level things because you're still in the weeds. It's like, how do I move myself out of the idea that I have to be this workaholic, work drone employee type person for my own self and just I'm a business owner, I'm a visionary and I'm building things and I need, worker bees, but at the same time, like I try to instill some elements of entrepreneurialism into my team as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, well, they have to at that size. You need people that are adaptable and will solve problems across different areas and kind of play outside their sandbox and lane. And I consider that all part of the entrepreneurial identity, whether you work for someone or yourself. So
Exactly.
very good description. So what allowed you ultimately to release control? What was the was it?
Well, I definitely last year I think was my big year of learning the necessity of releasing control. I mean, I certainly again, not 100% there yet, but I am so much farther than I was at the beginning of 2022 last year. And definitely hiring different leadership coaches, consultants, um, reading about stuff, just educating myself, I think really helped getting that objective point of view in the mix and not being like, oh no, I can figure it out. I mean, because it doesn't just start and stop with your team. It starts and stops with like all of the things. And so if you're just still trying to control even your own self, like, oh no, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out, whatever. That is not going to be helpful. Like at some point you have to hire outside help if you're trying to grow as a leader and just with your company.
And did you have a moment where you knew you had to bring in help?
I mean, I don't think there was any one moment. I feel like it
Mhm.
was more like an accumulation of moments and just
Mhm.
feeling like overwhelmed and just feeling tired of like balls being dropped, but yeah, it's like I'm paying, all this money out to a team, but yet I'm still working and working so late. And
Yeah.
like, what is the deal? Like something has to give. Like maybe I'm not doing something right in this process. And then I
Mhm.
come to realize like all the different areas I'm stepping in on unnecessarily. And, even still, it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, as a leader, you have to realize like a lot of these issues come down to you. And of course, sometimes you are going to have like bad apples and people are going to be not who you thought they were when you brought them in. And, not to say like that doesn't happen and some people are just toxic. At the end of the day, though, it's your decision to keep that toxicity on your payroll and let it impact the rest of the team or not.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's sometimes it's easier to outwork the problem than it is to
Mm,
solve it.
yeah, exactly.
Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing
Yep,
it.
exactly.
So what allowed you to then, so you've got this outside help in, you have a team now, and as you kind of stepped away and allowed the team to come into their own and really help bring to life the dreams and visions that you had, what is one of the things that allowed you to be really successful at making that happen?
Well, ironically, my team was actually larger in the beginning of 2022 than it is now. It was 20 people, and now it's 15. And even now, I still feel like I'm able to, step away a little bit more. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
not 100%. Like I know, I'm still a little involved in aspects of client fulfillment, but it's also because I do enjoy, and so does Lauren, my co-founder and wife. We enjoy aspects of it. And I feel like as long as you enjoy aspects of it, it's okay. But just understanding that as you grow, and if your intention is to grow to a certain size, you are still going to have to plan to let that stuff go so you
Mhm.
can step into, just full time. But like this week, I'm doing CES. We both got in as media for CES here in Vegas, which, big
Nice.
tech conference, very big. But, last year, couple years before that, I would have been like, oh my God, like I can't do this because how am I going to do this? Because all the stuff is going to fall through the cracks. Like that would have
Mhm.
just been like, I can't do it. Or I have to be glued to my computer or something. And it's like, nope. Now I'm like, I have my calendar, I have my assistant helping, and I don't feel like that is not a fear
Mhm.
that I have, you know. So I don't know if I really fully answered your question there.
It sounds like that you reduced your team, but was it that you got more of the right team members? Is it that you helped them? Is it that they understand what needs to get done? What was the factor that allows it to work better now with fewer team members?
Better systems, better, clear systems and processes, which we are still updating. And just earlier, I went over updated brand strategy with the team and making sure everyone's on the same
Mhm.
page for with the company mission and vision. Just thinking at a higher level and understanding like without things being streamlined and like having automations and having like clear KPIs and checklists for your team members, for your divisions, for the people heading up those divisions, things are not going to work. You're not going to be able to grow. So the whole 2022, the theme was kind of relaying, if you will, the foundation
Yeah.
of the company. And, while we did not grow in revenue at the same level that we had in prior years, we did about the same, I think, that we did in 2022. I feel like it was all so necessary. So now this year we can double or triple or quadruple even,
Mm-hmm.
our revenue because now we feel like we're going to be in a position to be able to handle that type of volume that we're seeking because it's more of a foundation in place, which it's
Yeah.
still a work in progress. There's still more work to be done, but now we don't feel like, oh, we have to hold back because it's just going to be a total mess.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a similar theme for 2022. We called it slow down to speed up. So every time we were asking or trying to do something, we asked ourselves, do we have to say no to this so that we can create something that will be more
Exactly.
automatic and simpler in the future? And there was a lot of decision making. It was a
Yeah.
lot that we had to walk away from in order to do the right things. But it allowed us to also go, from one to, well, we
Yep.
had two
You have to
decisions.
do it
Oh,
sometimes. It's part of it.
so did you end up creating the systems? Did you need to bring someone in from the outside? What was your method to kind of getting all that knowledge that was in your head on paper and instilling the ownership to keep it current and fresh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely have had input in the systems, but I let go majorly because I was like, I do not want to head up all of this. I just don't.
Mhm.
I don't have the energy for it. I have other things I have to focus on. So I've been, obviously very involved in the process and then helping identify the right people to help us through the process, but I've not been at the helm of the process. I would say my executive assistant, TT, hi TT,
Mhm.
has been at the helm of the process. She's very strong in operations, and so she's been
Mhm.
heading up a lot of it. But we did, have been working all last year with a business consultant who is local to, here in Vegas, but also a another consultancy called Eight Figure Agency. Shout out Jordan and team, who we brought in late summer to really evaluate our systems because their whole focus is on taking agencies who are in like the multiple six-figure
Mhm.
revenue area, which is where we are, and moving them into seven, which is our goal for this year. So
Amazing.
like how do we reverse engineer from where we want to be to like right now?
That's huge. That's huge. So you found the right people. And how did you find those right people?
So the business consultant is someone, his name is Jim Lorden. Hi, Jim. And his wife Dagmar, which they run something called GlobeCon here in Las Vegas. And so in their case, I had already been in a mastermind with them, like kind of like a local monthly thing since
Mhm.
October 21. And so it started kind of moving into a deeper relationship with them whereby they were helping with some of that consulting. And then the eight-figure agency, the founder, he actually slid into my DMs on LinkedIn. And
Mm.
I'm not usually very keen on the way a lot of people reach out on LinkedIn, but his approach was very authentic and it came at a perfect time. And so, I had a call with him and I'm like, he knows his stuff and
Oh,
showed me
that's
at their
makes
table.
all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
It really does. And he had worked with companies, I was familiar with as well. Companies with founders I've actually engaged with that are very successful. So I was like, all right, let's do this.
Awesome, awesome. So, life after workaholism, what does it look like for you, Nadia?
Oh man. I mean, certainly I have my moments, but now I'm not like if I feel like, oh, I say, I'm going to work, a little bit this weekend. And then the weekend comes and my energy is not saying it wants to work, it wants to relax, or wants to just be like, you know what, never mind, I'll just tackle this on Monday. Then I just tackle it on Monday. Like I don't have my email, like I don't really check my email after a certain time of day anymore. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I have to check my email. Like I used to feel like I always have to check my email, which I'm like, nope, this can wait. Like people can get a response in 24, 48 hours. Like this is a
Mhm,
business. I'm not like a PA to every single client or prospective partner or whatever.
mhm.
Um, so I do an email pause every weekend. Like I use something called Boomerang for Gmail, which I love. And so I just like I straight up pause my email. It's better than like just doing it within your email itself because you will not see anything. It will literally pause everything. If you've
Awesome.
been tempted to look in there, you're not going to see it unless you search for it. So I use that. And I'm not working until like 1, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. every day, like I used
Mhm.
back in the day of my earlier days of entrepreneurship. I'm a morning person now. I wake up between, 6 and 6:45 in the morning. I'll do a workout. I'll start the day. I don't always have a set schedule. Sometimes I will be like, I want to work into like 10 or something. There's something I want to catch up
Mhm.
on, but I don't feel like I have to. And, I value other aspects of life. I mean, definitely entrepreneurship and, all my goals is a huge part of who I am. And I don't think you ever fully shut off as an entrepreneur in terms of the ideas that come into your head, but
Mhm.
I'm also a creative. I do creative writing and so I know you do as well.
Yeah.
So it's just we have to feed those other parts of ourselves. And I just am at peace with not thinking about work every 5 seconds.
That's awesome. So I'm hearing that this boomerang, by the way, everyone should write that down. Boomerang for Gmail. If you're on Gmail,
Yes.
I wrote
Oh
it
my gosh.
down. I'm going to
Love
be
it.
trying it out. Love it. Love it. So it sounds like your map was really understand that you're trying to control, release control, figure out what you can do, get help for everything that you're struggling with,
Yes,
bring in the right
exactly.
experts, and then know what life needs to look like for you and make that life happen. Did I kind of
Yes.
summarize your map beyond?
I would say, yeah, you definitely summed it up. And, there's so many other things, and, not to say like, oh, I feel like people think, oh, if I'm not a workaholic, I'm not going to achieve all these things. It's like, there's so many
Mhm.
things that I plan on achieving, with Alter New Media. We are not, a traditional marketing agency. We're more of
Mhm.
a marketing and a media company. We're moving into tech. We're more at the intersection of,
Okay.
marketing and tech and media. And so, there's a lot of different things we're going to be building out. Like we're going to be building on MVP by the end of the year for a purposeful partnership, which is going to be an online marketplace and lots of different
Awesome.
things. And so, just because, you're not a workaholic anymore, doesn't mean you can't get stuff done, but you have to figure out like, am I going to need to hire more people? Do I need to kind of pursue these things incrementally? Like that's another thing that's really important to note. I used to feel like, oh my God, I have to achieve everything all at once. And, granted, my goals are still super ambitious, but at least I know like I was going to roll out a mastermind at the
Hmm.
top of this year. And then I looked at all the other things that I didn't quite achieve that I wanted to in 22, along with some other things. I'm like, you know what? I will roll out this mastermind in 2024.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, that's it. Being able to look goals and visions further out and really focus on what's important right now is critical. And actually, that is your one one recommendation for people as they work through workaholism. So tell me a little bit more about that creation of a vision statement or a vision board that you really want people to take and run with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was in a mastermind the end of last year, and he had us do kind of like a retrospective of sorts where we were thinking about where do we want to be in 2027, and then like how would we work backwards. So I mean, I would suggest thinking about like where you want to be in 5, 10 years, maybe start at 5 years, and then thinking about working backwards. Think about, what you have in your life, not
Mhm.
just professionally, but
Yeah.
personally, what would make sense. And if you're like, well, in order to achieve this, I need to be able to hire 5 more people, but I don't have the revenue to hire 5 more people right now. If that's the case, then you have to figure out like, all right, well, what do I need to do in this year so I can hire those 5 more people so I can start pursuing this goal. And so that's really part of it.
So start with your life and what you want your life to look like in 5 or 10 years, and then back into what your business needs to do to make that
Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
Amazing, amazing. And that's where purpose and profit can come together.
That's right. Purpose and profit are not mutually exclusive. A lot of people think I say purpose ahead of profit. And I'm like, nope, I believe that they are not mutually exclusive. You need to be pushing forward to, make a lot of money to make a lot of impact. And then when you make a lot of impact, you can make a lot of money. So it's
Ah,
reflexive.
I love it. That you heard it first from Nadia Rousseau. She is a writer, producer, and founder and CEO of Purpose Forward Marketing, PR, and media company Alter New Media. In just 5 years, she serviced over 600 mission-driven companies and helped them achieve the same thing she is working and has achieved for herself now. Thank you so much, Nadia, for joining
Thank
us today.
you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.